it's really nice. Yes. So that's one thing that will happen. Um, uh, what else? Well, I just heard I'm playing in those two groups. I'm playing with in your composition, Ali, and now you mentioned something, Chris. So this is yeah, this is it's about what's happening. Yes.
Can you tell us about Ava's double contra and how that has been evolving and how long it's been evolving?
Yes, I mean the plan was probably was 8 years ago that she or maybe even more. She always wanted this, and of course we talked about it, and then she made the tubes, and they were kind of hanging from the ceiling at her in her workshop. And each time I went there, you know, we looked at it and say it would be nice. And finally, this last year, she really took an effort and said, if it's not happening now, it will never happen. And so this was really an important moment. And she was working like hell that we could bring it in summer. We could bring it to yeah to the States, you know.
Well, do you know, Matthias? I remember a dinner in 2022 at NFA in
Yeah.
Chicago, and with Ava, with you, and you were both talking about this monster flute, and I said, okay, have it ready for Phoenix. And Ava took it as a challenge to,
Okay, so that was kind of the
yeah,
moment where she,
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
she went so much into this, you know,
yeah,
and unbelievable. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
remember that. I remember
That's
that. Yeah,
yeah.
I love it.
Well, um, so you know, of course, it's a lot of schlepping. That's part of the low flute business that you all know. But it's worth it. That's all I can
Yeah.
say. It's worth it.
Well,
I have,
that's why
yeah.
I stick to the alto.
Huh? Yeah, yeah. The alto is maybe I step back to the alto after a while. If I ever have to stop playing the flute, it's not because I don't have any breath anymore. It's because I can't schlep anymore. That's probably that's probably the moment.
I love it. I love it. By the way, if you don't mind my interjecting, so thinking back to 2020 when the original second International Flute Festival was going to take place in Japan. And of course, the pandemic, kind of interrupted those wonderful plans. And Chris, we're all so grateful to you for making this happen so that we finally do have our second International Low Flute Festival. It's amazing. And I just wanted to mention this wall hanging that I have back here. I bought in Japan at a street fair in it's almost 25 years ago, the first time that I played in Japan, in Fukuoka. And so that's one of my prized possessions. So I just thought, since you're all here in my living room, I just point that out.
Okay, are you guys going to play something for us?
Yes, let me just
Sure.
quickly show you. I just got that flute immediately before Christmas, and I told my wife, "Listen, this year we won't have a Christmas tree," and that's what I did. This is the double contra, and it looks actually nice. It
It's
looks actually nice like this, you know, because it's kind of. Um, And I mean, you blow, you know, when you're standing there at the left candle, that's where you blow the flute, you know. And we had I was talking about the traveling, and if you travel that's the thing you have. Let me see. It's always hard to get those things in place. Okay, this is what it looks when you are on a train. This is how you travel, you know. So it's actually a cello case, a Weissman cello case that has been turned into a flute case.
Wow.
So it's you definitely need an extra seat, and people start asking you what you're doing, you know. They don't think of parachute anymore. Most of them are asking if it's a cello, but it's so huge, it's way above your head. So if you go into the train, you really have to go down, otherwise you just hit the ceiling. You know, it's ridiculous.
Incredible. It looks like something you might find at the Olympics in the luge competition.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Do you want me to start with a jazz solo and then maybe
you do
Matthias?
the thing with the, yes, fine.
Want to do that? And then Matthias has this absolutely wonderful clip, which I know he's going to share with us. And then maybe we could finish with our playing together.
Yes, beautiful.
okay,
And of course, you know, questions. You're welcome to interrupt and ask questions
yeah.
because it's a wide field, and the rest of the questions we will answer when we are in Washington.
Yes, exactly. And especially you can interrupt when Matthias starts playing. So
Yeah, yeah, and get your headphones off, and we go on mute when Ali. But that's fine, Ali.
okay, so here.
Kind of the backstage group we are presenting here.
I love it. So what I'm going to do is share the screen, and it's the standard I'm going to play is "Have You Met Miss Jones," one of my longtime, all-time favorite jazz standards by Rodgers and Hart, and so I'll play the solo, and then I'll play the actual tune. So you might recognize it. So I'll share the screen. There. Okay. So. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to have a ball at that play along workshop because we will. I have various tempos, so you know, it's of course a sight reading thing, but it turns into a great way to actually be able to see and work on the jazz phrasing, the jazz articulation, the idiomatic rhythmic phrases that we find so often in jazz. And so for 50 minutes, I'm going to turn all of you into jazz flute players. So there.
And this has been now half tempo without alterations, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Just to know what you're expecting, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
Ah, thank you.
Um, I wonder if I should show a little thing I did with Ali across a kind of transatlantic, just a little example. That's the thing where the clip you were talking about before,
Yes,
where we
yes.
play together. Okay. Yeah, let me see. It's called an improvised encounter. I just have to start it here. Yes.
Oh, and Matthias, I was also referring to that wonderful clip where your colleague is also singing along. That was amazing.
Okay,
That I
yeah, I
heard
will show
yesterday.
this as
Great,
well, just to
great,
see
great,
where
great.
you can go with bass flute. So this is just the thing Ali and I made one afternoon from between Zurich and New York. And that we called it impromptu. And that's, I hope you get the sound here. That's the thing we did. We probably not the whole. I'm in Zurich and Ali is in New York. Okay. Well, that's one thing I wanted to show you. That's one direction we like to go, of course. And you might hear something going that way when we are doing our concert. There's a complete contrasting thing I did with a flute player from Switzerland. This is music by Monteverdi, and we did those buttons. Let me see here.
You can turn your volume up a little bit, Matthias. We couldn't hear you that well on that last clip.
Okay, I try. I felt like it was not very. Unfortunately, I'm at the limit of my volume here. Let me see, maybe I can adjust. Just tell me, you can also interrupt. So I'm full volume here, and I go to the full volume here and feed this also fully, put it into. Okay, let's check. So this is a piece by Monteverdi, and we are both players we are both having a Hoover. Émilie Bristou, a French, from the French part of Switzerland, she is singing and playing simultaneously. She's playing on a pinchophone, and which was like the first T-shaped, it was not the first T-shaped flute, but it was the first one that you could call a flute. I mean, there was the albisiphone at the beginning of the last century. And she has one of the pinchophones. I had one in the 80s. And I'm playing on the Hoover, which is kind of following up the history of the T-shaped. It's completely differently designed from the fingerings. And I'm also singing. So we have 4 voices. We are both singing and both playing. And this is what comes out.
Amazing. Oh, amazing. So gorgeous.
Thank you. So that was, it's a very interesting thing of playing and singing together. We had a whole series of pieces, of course, of early music, but it has that beauty which was just something special, you know, that we haven't heard before.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's just amazing. Wow. You have so many different sides to you, Matthias. It's scary.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know if it has to do with, of course, it's also all those interests, you know, and there, I mean, I have to say, after doing high school, of course, I played flute intensely, but I started studying architecture. So, and maybe that, you know, that kept the whole thing, the field a bit open. And So I never felt I would go the traditional way of try to play in the orchestra. And I see it with the students, young students. They come to our university at age 18 or 19, and they have to write their motivation. And I mean, 80% says, I see myself playing in an orchestra one day as principal flute. And you have to tell them, you can't make a business plan and then at the end you are in the orchestra. You have to, nowadays, you will probably, now you have less orchestras. You have to have that open-minded access to music. There will be project orchestra, so they call you in maybe for a musical or to do some teaching here and there and to play in a band. And I think that should be possible. So it's very hard sometimes for them to imagine what they are, that they are not going to do that, to be in the orchestra. And for me, the where I'm feeling most sorry is when a person makes it into the orchestra, and after 2 years in the orchestra, that person sees, oh, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay. I don't want to stay 25, 30 years in that orchestra. So, I mean, what do you do then? If you haven't had somebody who showed you some other aspects of music.
Right.
So I always had that open access to music. So when I did my soloist exam in Germany with William Bennett at Freiburg im Breisgau, Freiburgers, how he called the place. So after I finished this exam, I went on tour with Andreas Vollenweider, electroacoustic harp player, and it was kind of a pop act actually for 1 year. And then I said, that's good, that's enough, And actually the technicians of Andreas Vollenweider helped me to put microphones into my flutes. So they helped me to open a complete new sound world.
Yeah, that's great. Matthias, as you're talking, I'm thinking that one of the reasons why I think we have such a connection, a musical connection, and personal connection, is because neither of us have gone the traditional route.
Yeah.
And we both, there's like kind of a creative spark that whenever I play with you, you spark something in me, and hopefully I do as well for you. And it's it's that searching for something a little bit different, and not going with the traditional roadmap of a career, of the style of music, and always kind of being open.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've really enjoyed with our musical friendship, and backstage and all.
Similar kind of thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we develop the concepts. The important concepts are all developed backstage before the concert.
Yeah. And the whole thing with the low flutes, I mean, Chris, you really kind of spearheaded this whole movement. It really, in a way, because you started like rallying the troops seriously with both in NFA, but also outside of NFA, with all the workshops that you've been doing over the years, with the books that you've been writing, with arranging, and just creating this excitement around low flutes, which of course was not the traditional direction to go. So I think Kathy needs to mute.
Yeah, somebody unmuted.
Yeah.
Looking for all those little, there we go. All right. I just muted her. Okay. Thank you,
Sorry,
Ali, for saying that. I just saw a wave coming. That's all I can say. I saw a wave coming, and I thought, okay, I'm going to surf on the wave. But I saw that it was building. I saw that interest was building, and we are not doing the usual route. I mean, that's sort of, there are no jobs for low flutes. You have to create your own. And that's sort of what we've done. And we
Right,
all just do
right,
projects together. And
right.
but yeah, and the other thing I think is we just like the sound. We like the sound. It's so much a part of you physically. I
Yeah.
mean, the C flute is in a range that we can't sing in that range.
Well, you know something, Chris? I don't think I've ever played a single concert in my life where I'm playing both flutes. And of course, I play bass. I have a contra. Um, I I always say I never leave home with them. Remember the old American Express credit card?
Yeah.
I never leave home with them. But I have never played a concert where I'm also playing C flute, and where someone has not said, "Oh, I really love your alto flute." It's, I think, for the audience, non-flutists, because of course flutists, we love all the instruments, but non-flutists, I think, from alto down, it's more pleasing to the ear. It's, somehow so. But look at this array of people, of low flute players we've got right here. I mean, it's a movement. It's an entire movement. It's incredible. So
And it's worldwide. It's also worldwide, which is the amazing thing. There's a very active group in Taiwan, for example. Now, I haven't heard much from China. I don't think, I'm not sure what's going on in China, but I have to say it's a world, Japan, and the instruments have gotten so much better. When I first
incredible.
started doing this many years ago, I won't even say how many, basses were not very good. And I never thought of playing a bass because they were really not good. But then I happened to, it's a long story, but I met Ava Kingman. I went to her table at a convention and I played one of her basses and I went, I can actually play.
Right.
And so, of course, I had to have one right away. But it's just a worldwide movement. But Matthias, can you tell people how you came to call your vertical bass a Hoover? Can you?
Oh, I was just, yeah, I have to see if I can show this by putting on another. Oh, that screen is so small. So you have all those windows on top of each other. Hold on. Here. So if I change that here. Okay. Check this. This is my double contra and this is my bass flute here. And when we showed this, when we did this flute for the first time in I think it was in San Diego. We made a presentation. At the end, I said, that flute actually, how it looks, you could also use it as a Hoover, and could do this. Actually, go the other way around. That you can do. You can also go like this, So that was the beginning, and we thought that was a good. Good way to describe that shape of flute. So that's how I came to the name Hoover, which is, of course,
You're
it's
crazy.
a joke, but it's probably the flute I'm playing the most in the context of improvised music, because it has a high end. I'm playing way into the alto register because the diameter is a bit narrower, so it plays well up. The usual bass flutes are a bit wider, and the wider the flute, the more it enhances the basic frequencies, the basic vibrations. And if you have a slightly smaller, I can play 3 octaves on that instrument easily. So it really reacts well. So that's one of the reasons why I'm using this a lot. And uh,
And you put the microphones up inside the instrument, as you
yeah,
were saying, from the technicians with Andreas Vollenweider, and that
yeah,
picks up all those subtle key clicks and microtones that you can only get if you have microphones, up inside the instrument, which you of course can't really do with the horizontal bass. But it is so
yeah.
cool.
Well, you can. I mean, I'm having one microphone here on top of the flute. You can see it coming from the
Matti-
side. And
Matthias, did Ava make that flute, the Hoover?
yes, that's
Okay,
Eva's construction.
Ava
Yes.
Kingma.
And it's a flute in C with additional notes down to G. So that means, has kind of a low G foot, which is nice. You don't have to transpose. You just play everything, and the few notes that are below C, you just find them. You can actually play an octave below the alto flute. And that's the second microphone here, which looks inside the tube. It's kind of, let me see, I can probably show it. So now I took it out, and that's a little microphone capsule by Sennheiser, which is put into kind of a cork, and it says, and then you put it here into the flute. That's an additional hole. And it looks inside the flute. It's parallel with the wall, and it looks at the Chinese meal coming by, and all the stuff that going down the flute, and it really picks the sounds from the inside of the instrument. And you heard it probably before, all the key clicking, all that stuff, like all this stuff. That's what I'm amplifying, and I have my pedals, and it's simple as I have everything in my laptop, but of course there's a lot of things also that can go wrong as soon as you have equipment. It's like,
I never noticed that. That's fantastic.
You were mentioning something before, Chris. When the whole thing we are having now, like the discussion over the internet, the bidirectional meetings, and the video I played with playing together with Ali, that has been developed a lot during COVID, but we have a research program at Zurich University that we started in 2013, playing a concert between Zurich and San Diego, with special software, low latency, and that was the beginning of a 10 years collaboration and research project. And it was, after COVID, we didn't have to explain it anymore. It was like, and you have this idea of different softwares, and every software pretends to be better than the other and lower latency than the other. Maybe I can give you the name of 2 or 3 softwares that really work well. Of course, if you play together with just on Zoom, you have a huge delay. We have about we measured it yesterday. It was about 300 milliseconds, which is a triplet tempo 60. So if you have to this, da 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 da, so that's how much you are apart. And usually the rule is that the more than 30 milliseconds you can't play together anymore. 30 milliseconds is like standing 10 meters apart, which is between contrabass and maybe second horn in the orchestra. That's fine, so or percussion in the back. But there you have a conductor, And conductor doesn't help in telematic connections because the video is slower than the sound because it has more information. So the things, I put it in the chat. My favorite software is Sonobus here. You have to check it out. It's very intuitive. And since about, I think, probably since 2 months, it also has included video. Wow. And that's a very interesting combination. Then you have another one which works really well. That's, by the way, that's open source software, which I like very much, especially at the university where you have students, you don't want to show them a software where they have the license of the university and the day after their final exams, they have to pay for it, That's unfair, totally unfair. There's another software, talking about fair, FirePlay. FirePlay, they charge you, but it's a very well-functioning, well-functioning software. And there are others like Ninjam, for example. Some of them want you, you have to. It's not much, it doesn't cost much, but I don't know. It's always a business behind. So. Sonobus is really open source, and the guy is improving this. He lives in Australia, the guy who develops it, and has a new system of sending sounds over OSC dates. And this is what we are using.
Do you want me to connect?
When you are interested.
Do you want me to connect to it now?
Should we do a little check, a little thing, and do a little duo?
Yeah.
Yes. So you connect and you mute. Is this what we said, huh?
Yes, I think I'm muted.
Okay, I unmute from my side.
Yeah.
And let's see, maybe... Chris, you can tell us if you can hear me. Uh-huh. Can you play a note, Ali, that I can see? Very nice. So let me still put on the head joints.
Joints. So now you can see why backstage is fun with Matthias.
Right. The headphones, to get a nice haircut on. Yeah. Let's try.
Yep. We did it.
Yes.
Yay! That worked. That
It's crazy, right?
yeah. Anyway,
He's still playing.
Yeah, we would hope that they'd finally sort of figured out how to solve that latency issue. But anyway, we need to wrap it up. We need to wrap it up because we're almost at an hour. When we first met this morning, a little before the hour, we were thinking, oh, geez, how are we going to fill up this time? But of course we did. Oh, I think Matthias did that. Okay, are there any questions? Are there any questions? So I'm looking for a hand up in the hand that Zoom provides us, or you could actually raise your physical hand. And yeah, I'm not seeing any hands coming up here.
Well.
Okay, I hear some typing, but I don't hear anything. Okay. Again, I'm just looking for questions, but I'm hoping. Oh, Frankie, I see a hand. And Deb. Okay.
Low
Uh,
flute.
Go ahead, Deb.
My question was just, should we bring all the flutes to the festival? And I see somebody else type that in.
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you? So, I mean, there are sight reading sessions every day. And so, you might do
Right.
alto on one day and bass on another. I mean, just whatever you feel like you can carry. I mean, that becomes the issue. And
Yeah.
at this
Right.
point, there is not, I'll say this, there is not an instrument security room. It costs so much more money than you can possibly imagine to have an instrument security room.
Yeah.
So just think about what you can carry around.
Yeah. And yes, bring your C flute. I'm bringing mine, and for my reading session, I will have parts also for alto, but also for C instruments. So, but
But
you
leave the
don't have
piccolo
to.
at home. Leave
Yeah,
your
you can leave the pick. Well, no, actually, there's a little bit of piccolo in
Oh,
one
yeah?
of my pieces. You're welcome, Susan.
Okay, Frankie, let's hear from Frankie.
hi. I'm trying to think how to phrase my question. So I think a lot of stuff that I've been doing in school has been very like classical, like orchestra sort of centered. I think jazz is very interesting in terms of playing for flute. I honestly feel though that a lot of the charts tend to seem like very overwhelming, like in terms of reading them. How do you like conquer that sort of fear?
Oh, great question. Let's see. I think just as in classical music, there are it's a vocabulary. So I think that, I mean, what I try to do with my workshops, and I will certainly do it with the workshop that I present in DC. It's to give like an overview of some of the, for example, the idiomatic rhythmic figures, and but also like the basic concept with jazz. Very often we have anticipation, and so you start to see patterns in how you approach music, and so you will start to see ba ba do ba da ba do ba. In other words, it becomes like a language and very specific vocabulary where you'll see the same things will happen over and over, and and then you can become comfortable with them. But it's just a matter of being introduced to it, and so that you become familiar with it. You can then practice it, and it can actually become a part of you. Just as we all can read Mozart or Bach and have a preconceived notion of, for example, the rhythmic figures. We can do exactly the same thing with jazz. There are kind of a set of idiomatic rhythmic phrases, but also just concepts that hold true in most of the music. So I can dispel all of that fear if you come to my session.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. You're welcome,
But,
Frankie.
at the same, if you look at it, I totally agree with Ali. But the basics, you need like good sight reading, good instrumental, good sound, good handling of the instrument. That has to be there if you want to step forward. So those are the basics, and then it is, as you say, it's an idiomatic issue about getting to know that language. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see Beverly has her hand up. I think Alan might have had his. Beverly?
Well, my first question is, will there be music stands for us at the festival?
Bring your own, just like NFA.
Okay, I've never been to one of the big ones, so I don't know what to expect. So okay, all right.
We will have some stands. We have to rent them.
Yeah,
There
okay.
will be some, but bring your own.
And I typed it in the chat, but I want to make sure everybody knows about my workshop on conquering the vertical bass flute. We will go over everything from just how to adjust it to find a comfortable holding position to what to do if you can't reach keys. I've got dimes glued onto my bass flute so my fingers will reach the keys comfortably. I mean, we will talk about just anything and any whatever you have a question about. If you're thinking about buying a vertical bass or you're just not sure if it's what you want, that's what we're going to talk about. So
Awesome.
anything about vertical basses. Yeah.
Right. Because more and more people are buying those and thinking, you know, I just
They
don't
are.
do that anymore. I gotta
Yeah.
bring something down here. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody
Thank
else?
you.
Thank you, Beverly. Anybody else with a question or yes, Denise. Unmute.
Yes, okay. Did you post a schedule that we could sign up for these different workshops yet?
There's no sign up for the workshops. You just go. You just go. There's no schedule online yet. I can't tell. I'm dealing with an IRS issue right now, which I have to get done. So I have a deadline for that. That was unexpected. So, but a schedule will eventually be online, but there's no sign up for the workshops. You just show up.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Cool. This has been so much fun. Oh my gosh. So what time is it next weekend?
You want to wait an entire week? You want to wait an entire week?
Entire week. No, let's do one again tomorrow. No,
Yeah. What do you do tomorrow, man?
No, we got to leave the audience wanting more.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay. Any last questions before I stop the meeting? Before I stop the recording, Joyce.
I see Joyce. Yeah.
Shoot, now I forgot what my question is. Oh, I know what it is. Actually, we're gonna be on vacation for the few weeks just before the festival, and so I was wondering how early you're gonna mail the music out or email the music out for the opening and closing choirs, so that because I'm gonna need to practice it earlier than 3 weeks before the festival.
Our plan is to start mailing the parts out in the beginning of March. And that will give people about 5 weeks. If we send it out now, I'm telling you, I've been through this before. People will lose track of it. And they say, oh, I don't have to practice that right now. And then you can never find it. And then you contact me again anyway. So our plan is to send them out in March. And the problem that we're now having is that so many people have signed up. I've had to go to 2 rehearsals for both the opening and the closing choirs. So yeah. There's room, but only holds so many people.
To get the bass flutes part a little early, just for me.
Joyce, there are 150 people who've signed up. I can't individualize it. And I'm actually, somebody else is sending the music. Somebody else, the person who's in charge of the choir is the one who decides who's playing what part, and they're sending out the music. So it's not even me.
All right. Well, thank you.
Hey, Chris, thank you for doing this, for suggesting it and planning it. This has been so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like we needed to do something in the early part of the year, just so that, you know, we all remember what we said we were going to do. Oh yeah, I'm doing that. Okay. So anyway, okay, I'm going to turn off the recording. Let's see, where is that? Stop.